Let's start.
We are here. This is my friend Coral. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
This is her first time on this episode, I guess, or podcast.
Yeah.
And we're just going to talk about literally anything.
Anything.
So, what is your block of life? Like, what kind of block of life are you in right now?
I don't know. I don't know what phase I'm in. I don't know. Everybody keeps asking me like what I want to do.
Well, sometimes you don't know, especially at a young age. Well, how are you? 24, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be 24 this
24.
year. Mm-hmm.
See, I feel so old now.
I know. Wait, how old are you?
27. Going on to 28.
Okay, so you're the same age as kind of like my brother. He's 3 years older than me, so he's like, yeah, he's also at that point where he doesn't even, like, he has an idea, I think, but I have zero clue what I'm gonna do, like, with my life.
No, I feel that. Like, I'm barely starting this too, like, not really starting it. It's been like 2 years, but it's kind of like I want to say like a reboot kind of a thing, or just new things.
Getting back into it.
I don't know. Work has been tough going to like a job and then coming back to this. It kind of exhausts you.
Yeah.
So especially standing on your feet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I was like, let me do customer service. That's like my first or second job. Because customer service sucks.
It does. And not many people realize that it's, I want to say people think it's like, oh, all you're doing is just serving people. All you're doing is just making sure that the customer is satisfactory.
Right. Yeah, that they're like satisfied with what but it's much more.
It's a lot more.
It's so much more. Like, it's insane.
Like, I want to say when I was working at Target, like that was my first customer service job. And I was a cart attendant. That was like the easiest job personally I can think of. Except a lot of people didn't like it because it was a lot of physical work.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I had to make sure that customers were like always like I want to say no. They want to their convenience. Yeah. For example, bathrooms being cleaned, cart wipes. I'm trying to remember everything that there was carts. Yeah. Sometimes I would come back from like a break and there's nothing.
It's moments like that where it's like I really despise corporate America and like the companies that were like customers first, like customer is always right, and it's like human beings are literally pieces of shit. Like, what makes you think that they should have the prestigious like feeling of like, no, I have to have that? Like, it's no, you don't.
It's much worse when you don't have backup.
Yeah. It's like, but
like when you know you're in the right, but they're like, oh, but just apologize anyway.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I hate that. I'm like, but they're never like, and it makes it so it's like it gives them the okay to be like, okay, I can do it again. Like, they won't say anything because I know they're gonna just apologize and they're gonna let me go and like give me free stuff. And I really, really want that to not be a thing anymore. Hopefully by the time it happens, I'm not working in customer service, but like still.
I feel that because sometimes you're like at the other side of the counter and you're like, I would never talk to somebody
I would
like
never.
That.
It's so, especially like kids nowadays. Oh my gosh. It's gotten so much worse, I feel like.
They're rude as fuck.
They're so fucking mean. They're mean. They're like little bullies. But it's like, they just don't have manners.
No.
Like, none.
One of the kids, when I was working Kid Rush over at Starbucks, they literally called me, you look like a dumbass. It just caught me off guard a little bit. I wanted to insult him back, but at the same time, I don't want to stoop to that level.
Yeah, yeah. Even though, like, I can stoop to that level, and it's like, in my head, I'm stooping to that level. But, no, I know some of them call me Ice Spice just because of my hair. But it's like, it's just I don't know. When I was a kid, I always said, please, thank you. Like, it's just, like, basic honor, like,
manners,
literally basic manners that nobody is taught. But I feel like it's just, I don't know, either it's the parents or like the pandemic played into that a little bit.
I want to say a lot with the pandemic because everybody was so isolated.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, parents are so used to not attending their children because they're either in school or they're at home and they're exhausted from school and they don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Like was the normal like pattern.
Yeah.
Now that they're like always have to attend with their kid, they're realizing their kid is not that goody two shoes person that they want to be.
Well, and a lot of people just go into being a parent without like realizing the full consequences of it, and it's just nobody, like, of course nobody's gonna know how to parent. Like you're not gonna know how to do that. Nobody knows how to do, like, let's be a good parent today. Like nobody knows how to do that. But it's just the fact of like basic honest, like, and then just spending time with their kids. I think they're starting to realize like they're gremlins. And also like social media is playing a lot into it. Like TikTok is like a huge ad, like,
because when we were growing up, because we're around the same age.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there was that much of a gap between technology developing.
Yeah.
And actually like still like going out, playing on the playground, going out and like even the simple games of tag and hide and seek and all that. Now it's just like,
Fortnite.
It's
Fortnite. Let's play Roblox. Let's go to the Lady Gaga concert on fucking Fortnite.
They're like bringing their Switches and everything to school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my God.
Insane. It's actually kind of scary how much they're like, because social media, I think in our terms of like growing up, because it started becoming a huge thing when I was like in middle school, like high school. Like I remember that's when Instagram was like poppin'. Snapchat came out. Like people were like had Snap scores and like Snap best friends and stuff. Like I remember that was when that was coming out. But we still went outside. We like still did stuff.
Yes.
Like we wanted people to see we were out doing things. Like we wanted people to be like, oh wow, look at them at like fucking like froyo, like
just enjoying their lives.
Yeah, like okay, I wish that were me. Like, but now
people are also like, one, they don't care and they just post anything. But secondly, people are posting things that are fake.
Yeah,
which is a lot more scary.
Yeah. Have you seen the whole thing happening with Kate Middleton? And like have you seen that? Are you on like chronically online, or are you just not online?
I am online, yes.
Okay.
When it comes to doing my own stuff.
Okay.
But I am not as online as I should be.
Right.
Remember how? So off the record, she found out that I didn't know who Beyonce was till like high school.
Insane. Literally insane. Like, okay.
So a few years ago, and then I found out who Rihanna was, all because of the Super Bowl, like just their performances.
Insane.
But still, my point being is that I am out of terms when it comes to social media.
Right. Yeah.
So
like you're Patrick Star.
Kind of, in a sense. I'm literally under the
in that
rock.
sense, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like this. It's basically this huge thing. You have to be like chronically online in order to like. But basically, she hasn't been seen since like November of last year, and everybody's like, "Where is she?" Yeah, they're like, "Where is she?" Like, no photos have been released of her. Like, she hasn't even been seen in public, and she was apparently like at the hospital for like I don't know, she had a surgery or something.
Okay.
But she she hasn't been seen since November of 2023, and they just released a photo yesterday, and it was like edited from like AI, like you could literally see it on the photo, and everybody was like, so they like blacklisted it online. All the news outlets were like, get rid of the photo, like don't share it. It's actually pretty crazy.
That's interesting. I feel like that was like, do they know who released the photo to begin with, or no?
I think it came from, I think it was her. It was like an appreciation post of like her being a mom, and like it was with her kids. But there was like certain spots in the photo that you could see were like altered and like were like cutting out, and you could tell it was photoshopped. So people were like, this is fake. And then like the Daily Mail and everybody online was like, they just like blacklisted it offline. They just got rid of it, and they're like, delete it. Like, we're not even sharing this photo anymore.
See, that's
and now
crazy.
People are like, that's a little weird that you're like telling people don't share the photo if it was real. So now it's
no,
like
see, that's crazy. Because usually, I've done it before where I've basically gone off the grid too. Like, I don't text anybody.
Yeah.
I just kind of like be gone for like a week or just detach myself. I think even Selena Gomez did that once, where she's just like, I'm done with like Instagram. She was like still there, but I don't think she ever like posted or anything.
Yeah.
But to have like an AI rendering of yourself, I guess. And then posting it out there and saying like, okay, I'm either back or like this is what's been going on. Yeah. And now I want to see like the unedited photo. Like what happened?
I know. A lot of people were saying like maybe it was just they like took a whole bunch of photos in one and then just like chose the best pose or like the best whatever from each one and like try to bend it together. But I'm like, why would they go through the trouble of being like, hey, here she is, and then all of a sudden all the news outlets are like,
so it's like a setup.
Well, yeah, literally. I'm like, she's either dead or she's like in an insane asylum or like she's being held captive. Like, where is she? Where is Kate? It's a huge thing, but
no, I'll find out about it. Usually after these things, I just see what we're talked about, and then I just see the stories that happened. Like last year, I was talking about the submarine with some friends.
Oh,
the whole submarine thing that happened.
Ocean Gate.
Which was already scary on its own.
Yeah. Fuck that. I have like a deep fear of the
going
deep
underwater.
Water. Yeah. What is it? Like thalassophobia or something like that?
I think so.
It's
how deep are you willing to go?
Like not even
like that deep, just like
maybe like my chest height. Like it's freaky. Like I don't. My dad's a surfer, so he'll like tell me like he'll go out to surf. You have to go out a good distance, and like it's only a fear that I've recently developed like in the past couple years, but I've gone out to surf, so you have to like go out a certain distance. And he's like, even if I'm out there, like sometimes I'll be like paddling through the water and you just like brush up against a fin. And I'm like, that's insane. Like you're still willing to go out there when you're literally touching like sharks. Something. Like, no. Like something in the water. Like that's insane. It's scary. Like just to think about that there's like thousands of creatures in a body of water, unknown creatures that you don't even know, like you can't even detect unless you're like part of the ocean. Like you're just out there.
See what's I want. Okay, freaky. So have you ever seen like an orca?
I want to say yes, but I probably don't remember it. But yeah,
no worries. Okay,
I've seen a whale.
A whale.
Yeah, I've seen a whale.
I've never seen
a dolphin.
I've seen dolphins. I've never seen a whale, but I have seen an orca once. And like, I'm not talking about like going to like the SeaWorld or something.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen an orca once, and it was pretty terrifying because just thinking about like, because they play with their food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they will do like anything just to like eat or basically chase it down or just basically toss it back and forth.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, I was like, okay, so if I just was like in there, because they're not known to harm humans, I don't think so. But if you just go in there, just play, like be with them, be one of the divers and everything. What I'm wondering is if they'll actually develop a taste for human nature or if they just want to communicate with us. Because I heard that they're the smartest animal in the sea.
Right.
And then I'm wondering if we can train orcas to tell us what is down there. Right. What else is down there?
Like to show us, yeah. Well, how deep can orcas go? Can they go like?
They can go pretty deep, but I think they prefer still staying in sunlight.
Right, because they can see food and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it makes sense. Maybe we should just like develop technology to go
like that, like
to the depths of the ocean, because it's pretty down there. There's a lot down there. The sun don't shine. Literally. It's kind of crazy also to think about how that used to be like not underwater at one point.
At one point, and then what's it called? There was a desert right now. I think it's in Africa or something, but that used to be like all ocean, and then now because the ocean like drained or the land rose, like everything is just like salted, and there's like sea life, but it's all like dead,
right?
Like sea plants and everything.
Yeah, that's insane to think about. The fact that this planet was probably just like all covered in water, and then like the Earth's crust was like, all right, here's some mountains, like here's some more.
The tectonic plates just crashing into each other. And I don't know why I just thought of this because I've been on a giant flat earther, like what's it called? Not like I guess phase, but in just listening to them.
Yeah, seeing their sides of the story.
Yeah, and honestly, they're pretty stupid.
Yeah, they're freaking idiots. No, they're so dumb. I'm like, you be so serious. Like, you have to understand if you.
No, it's
just the physics and the nature of it all would make sense, but it doesn't because it's not like we don't live on a flat planet. Like
we already disproved everything.
Yeah.
And every time they So I watched a few debates, and every time they give like a logical reason, and you don't have to be a scientist, so long as it's a good explanation.
Yeah.
You research it. It's like, okay, this part is true. This part is true, and you can see where everything comes down from. But when they talk, they just say, "No, you're wrong."
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well then provide me how I'm wrong. And it's like, no, you're wrong. Like, okay, so I'm right. No, flat earthers are like, it's kind of in that, it falls under that. It's not so much like a pseudoscience because it's not really something that people look into. It's just more of a theory, but it's like a stupid fucking theory because it's like been disproven time and again,
over and over,
and it's like not even like bullshit, like excuses or explanations. Like it's factual, like evidence.
No, it's
and scientific evidence. So it's like you just have no point to stand on.
And
people are so dumb.
I think one of the best arguments that I've heard, like in ever, is just like water finds like its level, right? And the thing is, and they're like, oh, but water doesn't stick to a ball or anything. And obviously, there's a whole bunch of other factors and stuff. But for the most part, if you just see like the boat going over the horizon, you can just see not just the curvature, but like if you just zoom in, you can see that the boat is under it, but you'll only see the top of it. And then the further it goes, the more you can't see because it's over the horizon. And they're like, that's not true. You're just finding like different things in the air and particles and stuff. And they're like, no.
Like, no. If it was flat, I would see that boat
all the way
through to where that destination was going, babe. It's like there was some pictures I saw on Twitter the other day. Somebody it was like from 2006 or something. Somebody had taken a picture of, I think it was like the Chicago skyline from like wherever. I don't know geography, so but like it was like from across like one of the rivers, and it was like in the morning at like 6 a.m. They're like, this is only like you can only see this once in however often, and it's like because of the curvature of the fucking like earth that you can only see it for so much, and it's like, wow, that's insane. And then everybody in the comments is like, flat earthers can't deny this, and I'm like, yep, so true. Like.
What's I want to say? What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
My favorite, honestly, is the what's it called? Where it's like that, like the Berenstein.
Oh, the Mandela effect.
Yes, because I slowly started getting a little bit more into like understanding, because a lot of people are saying. More so in the beginning, I remember it was people just being like, no, it was Berenstein, not Berenstain. And like, oh no, like, okay, Fruit of the Loom did have a cornucopia. BT dubs. Okay. They did.
I was going to point that out.
They did.
I was going to be like, okay, so I actually do remember the cornucopia as well. I also remember it without it. However, there were some brands and some clothings where not only did they have it, but I think somebody online posted like, no, they did have it for I guess small prints or misprints, but they did have it at one point.
Yeah.
Or another theory is, or somebody basically not copyrighted it, but it was, I guess it is copyrighted, but just basically put the cornucopia behind it so they wouldn't get like in a giant lawsuit, but still represent their name. So,
but like again, why would a company go through all that trouble just to be like
exactly? So I'm like, they had it at one point.
And then, but it's like weird for them to say, like, it's one thing for them to be like, yeah, we had it. And then it's another thing for them to be like, no, we never had that.
Never had it.
And it's like, you're fucking insane. Like, you're lying to me. I know you had it. And now it's like, but it's turned into, I've seen it. It's like people are saying like, no, it's the government. They're like, because my brother was explaining it to me. He's like, well, don't you see like, the bigger picture is like, what if they're just doing these little things to like confuse us so that way later in the future they could like say one thing and then they're like, no, we never said that, and then we could just easily believe them more because it's like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, holy shit, that is a good point.
Actually,
like,
no, that makes sense.
That does make a really good point. I was like, wait a minute. So but it's a really good one. I like that one.
The Mandela effect?
Yeah, that's a good one.
There was the whole, I think, the Monopoly man with the monocle.
Yes.
And then
the Planters peanut with like the hat. I remember, and the monocle. Yes. He had a hat. The Planters man had a hat. The peanut guy, didn't he?
The peanut guy had a hat, and a monocle, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a cane, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they said he never had a monocle or a cane. I think it was just that he had a hat.
No.
But he I remember he was a decrepit Grandpa Peanut. Like, I remember that.
And then there was Mickey Mouse wearing suspenders sometimes. I feel
He
like
did?
in some animations he did, but for the
Remember
most
that.
part, I feel like he didn't. But that was one Mandela effect. One effect that I do remember specifically is the Kit Kat bar that had the little dash. It said Kit dash and then
Right,
Kat.
it did. No, they're saying it didn't?
It doesn't. It does
You're
not,
lying.
It does not.
No,
You can
it
look
did.
at you can look at
no,
the Kit Kat
it literally
logo.
did.
It does not have a what's it called? A hyphen.
It does. No, you're lying.
It's just Kit and then Cat. There's no hyphen.
There used to be a hyphen.
That's what I thought. Like I swear.
No, it used to have a hyphen. It had a hyphen.
Like I'm pretty sure too. Like
that's insane.
See, now that we have like actual video and everything, we can actually go back and see everything. And especially now, since like everything's basically at least 1080 or close to 4K. So if this ever happens again, the government can't really do anything about it. We'll be like, I got you, bitch.
That's true. But, you know, I am also afraid of AI taking over because it's like...
That's a good one.
It's getting to a point of...
Well, the fact that they replaced somebody else, or I guess tried to, like... Well, what was her name? Kate
Middleton? Yeah.
The fact that they tried to replace the imagery. And then I know a lot of people are also scared of the voices, like people's voices getting mimicked and stuff.
From like all the and also where was it? I think it was like somewhere overseas. They had made like an actual like AI robot. She was like an actual like from iRobot, but she kind of had like a humanoid like face. And somebody had like asked her a question, and then she like told them her opinion, and then they came back like 10 minutes later and they were like, hey, so did you change, like, has your opinion changed on this? And she's like, yeah, it has actually, now that I've like gotten more data. Yeah. And everyone's like and everyone's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And it's like, no, it's not pretty cool. Like, they have cognitive thinking at this point, y'all.
They're
like,
learning.
They're learning. That's not good. It kind of reminds me of that movie. Have you seen it, 9? It's like about those little doll things.
Yes. I vaguely remember that movie, but yes.
It's about robots like destroying the world because they like it's from AI and they like took over, and some person like... It's such a good movie. I'm just like remembering it now. I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm barely remembering it, like, cause I think I've only seen it once, but like I'm remembering bits and pieces of it.
He like puts his soul into like these little things, like they're like little like
rogue dolls or
little doll thingies, and they just like chill out and they just like go around and it's like tells the story of like how AI like took over, and then like the machines killed humans and all of that.
So now they're just like trying to survive as like the little doll, or
little dolls are... I think it's like his his soul or his spirit is like trying to, I guess, like bring back humanity or like destroy the machines or like the robots.
I forget. I'll have to watch that again.
I do. I have to watch it again, but I only remember it because it came out on like 999. Yeah. 2009.
2009. My God, that was so long ago.
What a good time. I'm like, you can't have like movies like that anymore where it's like...
No, I feel like people are either trying too hard.
Yes.
Or they're just trying to adapt like different... I want to say a twist on what's already original.
Yes. The Scream franchise.
Oh my God.
The perfect example.
Okay, so from the beginning, and I have a friend that watches this, and she's going to hate me for me saying this, but sorry, Emily. I always thought of Scream as a comedy.
It's like funny. Like it's not like it's not even a thriller. Like no, it's not even like...
I always found it hilarious.
It's a good... I think it's, if I'm going to be real, like people really like Skeet Ulrich and what's his name? Matthew Lillard, the Shaggy guy. They made the movie, but like it's not really... I mean, the more you watch it, I think you kind of get that sense of like, okay, like it's not really horror
No,
thriller.
it's like I want to say the first time people watched it in theaters, like when the first Scream came out.
Yeah.
For that time, I will say I can see that people are like terrified, but like
Yeah.
now and then looking back, one of my favorite scenes is the garage scene where the girl's trying to escape through the door, and then the garage thing lifts.
I love that movie just because of Scary Movie, how they did like the parody of it. That's the only way I'll like actually know the plot of like movies like loosely and basically is like if I haven't watched it all the way through, I'm like, oh, it's on. Yeah, it's like they need to bring those back.
They do.
They like I don't care if it
offends people.
No, like I need to see it. Like I need to see like especially the newer movies too, like Dune. That would be such a good one to make a parody of.
So I've seen only I literally just finished the first one yesterday night.
I just saw the second one yesterday.
How good was it? Or was it?
Rodney, when I say cinema is back, like, okay, so on the topic of movies, yes, they have been, like, that's the thing is that, like, cinema and, like, just movie theaters and, like, because of the pandemic and everything in general, I feel like just the industry has gotten so lazy.
A little bit.
In terms of, like, coming up with new and more creative ideas. And it's also because... Sorry if I offend people here, but like society is like becoming so much more strict in terms of like what they find as like something as offensive or like not
culturally appropriate.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Yeah. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like just let people do their thing.
Let it be. I want to say like if that's something that you're not interested,
right?
I would say not only just don't go watch it, but also
just don't pay it any mind.
Yeah, just like there's a bunch of other things that could offend me, but I just let it go. Like, I'd let people do what they do. If people like it, they like it. If people don't like it, then they don't like it, and eventually it dies.
Right. And the huge thing with movies is that it's like so many now are just like remakes because people want to. Like, I get there's a nostalgia factor, but it's only for so long that like. It's at that point where it's like you see a trailer and you're like, oh, they're redoing that movie, and it's like, okay, come up with something new.
So I had a theory of what I want to say Disney was going for, and then it completely failed. That theory did not come true. But when they were remaking stuff like Lion King, The Little Mermaid, and all their classic like remakes, they had an era. I was like, okay, that's fine. They can do a few movies or so. But then they kept changing everything, and I think they just cut back on Snow White or something happened with that movie.
Yeah. Rachel Zegler.
Yeah.
She's actually pretty chill, not gonna lie. She's more so like, I don't know. It's I remember when Cinderella, the live action one, came out.
I think that was the first one, right? At least the
either that one or the one about Maleficent, I think. Sleeping Beauty. Yeah.
So this is where my theory came into place, or I think I wanted it to go. So have you ever played the game Kingdom Hearts?
I've seen
about it. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen people do gameplays back in the day.
It was a great game. But
it was a pretty cool game.
I know they don't make video games like they do.
They don't.
But I was thinking if they make like titles like Maleficent or Cruella or just the origins of the villains, that could be their new originality. And I was like, okay, they're going somewhere.
Yes.
But they never did. They never finished. Remake everything.
They have a book series too that they started to like dive into more of like holy crap, what is it? It's like if Snow White had the poison apple, but Prince Charming never woke her up, what would happen? It's like those kinds of like
the what if books, right?
Yeah, it's like Disney villain edition, and I'm like, this is actually fucking good. Like they should do this. Like this has to be like a live action show or like just something like
a movie,
an animation.
Animation would be good too.
I feel like they should do more animation movies just because they don't anymore.
No, it's like. I think they're moving towards like wanting to promote like different actors and ethnicities, but at the same time,
you can do that in cartoons.
I was like, Disney's just fucking up a lot.
Disney is They've been fucking it up since they released Infinity War, and they released
2020 is like before
Endgame.
that.
okay, Infinity Wars was like the last good Marvel movie. And then that's when it kind of just went downhill.
Like downhill.
Yeah, because it just like sucked after that. And I have no idea what they're doing now with like the cinematic universe at all.
Me and my friend have been going to every single Marvel movie premiere since Iron Man, and that was an accident. We didn't even want to watch Iron Man, but it just happened. I was like, oh, let's just keep this tradition. And to this day, we still have that tradition.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been the same. Like, I think, what was it, 2018, 2019 when the movie came out?
Yeah.
Everything's just been like, it's fine, or it's okay.
It's been a downfall.
I will say that with nostalgia playing a factor, the No Way Home movie was actually super good.
No Way Home was the last like good,
but I want to say that
movie that they released.
That was also due to Sony as well, and Disney.
Yes.
So it's a little loophole there.
Loophole. It's. I know we used to do the same thing, my family, because it's like 4 of us, so me, my dad, and my mom, and my brother, and we all like went to every single Marvel movie together. My dad's not a movie person, like he kind of just like does like physical activities. He's not that kind of person. So when he goes to the movie theater, he falls asleep. Like literally any single movie, he falls asleep. Like it could be the most action-packed movie, and you look over and he's just like knocked out. And so he like used to go with us, and I think like the one movie that he had like a turning point with was I want to say it was Spider-Man. Spider-Man Homecoming was the first one where he was like, wow, that was actually really good. And I was like, you were awake for it? And he was like, yeah, I fell asleep in a couple parts, but overall the movie was good. Yeah. So we would always go to every single one. And then the last one we all went to together was Endgame. And then we saw Captain Marvel all together, and then like we saw the Eternals, and then after that we kind of just were like, no. The last one we all saw together was Spider-Man No Way Home, and that was when we were kind of just like, okay, Marvel is like, we're not gonna go see it. Like even the new like Thor movie, because when we went to go see Ragnarok, it was like so Thor Ragnarok.
The
best one. Like that was such a good movie.
With Thor 4 or Thor Love and Thunder, they tried to replicate, but you can't try to replicate something like that.
No. And it was too good.
No, it's like and the worst part is that they didn't have like any serious moment. Like I thought, this is just my thought personally, and I guess I was just looking forward to this until I got disappointed. When Korg died in that movie, when the lightning bolt, spoiler, whatever. I thought that's when the movie was going to get serious. It's like, okay, maybe we're going back to the original. No.
No. They're just like, okay. It's that's also another thing is like script writing has gotten, and it's the same way for like books too. Like I've noticed, because I love to read. They just like, with authors and just like script writers, like they're just like pushing out these like projects and these books that have like zero depth to them. Like there's no like writing in it that you're like, okay, that's a good, like it carries the plot through. You can see it like change throughout the dynamics of the movie and the scenery and the theme. Like
everything playing out in
everything
your head.
Going through your head, and you walk out of the theater and you're like, I totally fully understood that movie and what the message was. Like even if it's just a stupid movie, like you're walking out and you're like, that was a good movie. You can't say that anymore.
No, so, like some movies aren't even worth like watching, or even like I want to say even talking about. Most directors, I don't know what, like if they're doing anything, I want to say stricter, like they have to follow a specific protocol, or they're just not letting them have that much freedom, or if it's just the directors themselves saying like, this movie did good, let's imitate it or copy it, and see
let's go with the same kind of like concept / like and that's a lot of. But Dune 2, I went and saw it. So good. Great. Like, there's certain movies where it's like the first one was like so good that you're like, oh my god, I'm scared for the second one. Like, is it gonna be like as? And this one was like even better, I think. The first one? Like it was it was a good follow-up sequel, and like a second movie, and I was like, wow, that was like,
because it originally started as a book, right? Like there's it has the book.
It's so like it's a book series, and then they made a movie out of it in like the 80s or the 70s, like late 70s, early 80s, I think. And then they made it all 3 books into like one movie.
That's already a lot right there.
Yeah, so it was like obviously,
compacted.
and then like the fucking CGI back then and like all of that was disgusting. So it was like gross, and like they had blue eyes, and like back then it was like
the
too blue. It was kind of weird, but this one was good.
No, one of the things I noticed is the CGI. I don't know if people are counting too much on it, or they're just not giving the animators enough time, or what's going on. But lately, I want to say since 2020, the CGI has been terrible in most movies.
I feel like a good like advocate and like pusher of that has been like Marvel too, because their projects are.
Have you seen She-Hulk?
No, and I don't want to.
Don't.
No, and I don't want to. I'm so sorry, but it did not look good when the trailer came out, and I know it's not good. So I'm not planning on seeing that anytime soon.
No.
No.
It was. Let's just say the CGI. I thought they would fix it by that time. I was trying to give Marvel so many chances.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm just like, okay, this saga's ended right here.
And that's the thing, is that they had made so much movie or like money from those movies of like from Iron Man up to Endgame, like that amount of. But they used to space out the movies so well. Like I remember getting out of the theater and seeing that last like post-credit scene, and you're like, "Fuck, I can't wait till see the next one." Like, when's the next one? It's like, "Oh, it's in 2 years," and you're like, "Fuck!"
And then you're just waiting.
And you're just waiting and agonizing, and then it comes out on DVD, and you're like, "Yes, like I can watch it again." And then it's like you watch right until the moment you go to see, and then, but now it's like. You go and see the movie and you're like, oh, that was like pretty okay. And then they're like, oh, hey, guess what? The sequel and follow up to this one is going to be in like 6 or 7 months. And you're like, oh, okay.
It's a little too soon.
Yeah.
They just bombarded us with a bunch of like Marvel
They did.
content.
They pushed out so many like shows and like, there's a couple of good ones, like Moon Knight. I like
Moon Knight was actually good.
Moon Knight was good.
The CGI was a little bad, though. I will say that
it was.
But
it was a little. I just don't understand. Like, can't they see like, okay, we're pushing our like animators and like our artists a little bit too much and too fast. Like these deadlines are way too soon. Like we should look at the quality of it and.
Or even go back and fix them. I would not mind if they went back and fixed some things.
Like mastered a movie or something. Like it's.
I don't know. It's. I feel like these days, especially in the workforce, people are being pushed because they want to have something in a specific time frame. And I understand a time frame is necessary, but if you know, or if your team is telling you, "Hey, we're not going to have this in time for your vision," we have to push it back. Then push it back. I don't mind waiting 2-3 years, so long as it's good.
And I think that's the thing, is that so many like people now are just like getting so used to the fact of like for book writers, like there's a few people who like have been knocking out book series, and it's like they release them every like few months, and it's like when Harry Potter was coming out, it was like years. Like that was a year, like years of like pining and like angst and just being like, what's gonna happen in the next book? Like, and now it's just like you get it so soon, and so many people are getting so used to that. So it's the industry is failing.
No, yeah,
but Dune 2 was good.
I was like, but Dune 2 was good.
I also saw Oppenheimer yesterday too.
See, yesterday as well.
So it was like a double whammy. Like I went to go and see it with my parents at like the showtime was at 3:50. And, at AMC, they, like, show, like, 25-30 minutes of, like, previews. And then, like, this stupid, like, here at AMC Theaters with Nicole Kidman.
I was literally going to mention that. Okay, so I went to the theaters the other day, too. I took my little cousin to go see Kung Fu Panda 4. Kung Fu Panda 4.
Oh, God.
And it was fine.
I heard it was okay.
It was
yeah.
The first and second one were a lot better after that.
Yeah.
But anyway, they finally changed. I think the Coke commercial at the end. I was like, oh wait, she's not here anymore.
Oh,
and then
really?
she popped up, and I was like, motherfucker.
I miss the old one where they used to have like, you know, because they have that scene where it's like the guy putting his arm around his girl, and then the other guy's like eating the popcorn on the edge of his seat. I literally remember they used to have that. He would be eating it, and he like got scared. Yes, you remember? I miss that one. I'm like, they need to reintroduce that. Like that one was a good like.
And then now it's just like, okay, like a quick.
Yeah, no talking or texting. Enjoy your movie.
And then that's it.
Yeah,
and then she pops up, and I'm like, God damn it.
Here at AMC, we make movies better. And you're like, okay, babe. But yeah, no. So we went to go and see it, and then when we got out, we were like going to get dinner, and on our way home, the Oscars was just ending, and I was like, oh, I want to like see who wins Best Picture because they had just announced Best Actress in a leading role, and Emma Stone won. And then I was like, I want to see who wins Best Picture. And of course, Oppenheimer won.
No, that was a good movie.
I was like, I need to see it because I went and saw Barbie, and I wanted to see Oppenheimer. Yeah, Barbie was good. I like Barbie. But I wanted to see Oppenheimer to like have that double feature, but I just didn't have like the time to.
I feel that. And
then they released it on like digital platforms, and I was like planning on watching it. And then we got home, and my mom's like, you want to watch Oppenheimer? And I was like,
yeah.
Yeah, sure. And I was like, gonna go home after eating dinner. And I was like, yeah, okay, we'll watch part of it. Literally, I was like, I can't stop. We have to watch all the way through. Movie. Like, we have to watch all 3 hours.
It's a good movie.
It was a good movie.
I think it's a good one. I think it's number 3 now in the top box office.
It deserved. Christopher Nolan knows what he's doing. Like,
well, I haven't seen a Christopher Nolan film that I didn't like.
Right.
As far as like I know. Like even when he did the Dark Knight trilogy, those were pretty good.
Those were good.
Those are solid.
Solid.
Anybody who says that they weren't solid, I'm fuck you.
You're a liar. Like it was good though. Like it was good.
Yeah, and then he did Interstellar. That one was good. And then this one was like Oppenheimer was amazing. If you haven't seen Oppenheimer,
you need to
watch it.
You need to watch it. It's a good one.
Don't get me wrong. I understand that it released with Barbie, and most people were like in that Barbie phase and everything. And like, I'm not gonna criticize Margot Robbie because she did an amazing job.
Yeah.
But Oppenheimer was a lot better than Barbie.
It was. And it's because I think you saw
I saw both of them, yeah.
Because I think it's like, I mean, even with the award shows and everything, you know, like the whole focus being on like Ken and like, oh, blah blah blah, like that wasn't the point of the movie. And the fact that like people took that away of like, oh, it was just like a silly little feminist movie, and it's like, okay, like no. Okay, but Oppenheimer was like, I think it just had that like oomph factor of like, okay, here it is something that's like based off of like a real person, real events that happened. And it's like a huge topic that's still talked about today, like atomic bombs and the aftermath of what happened to Japan and like us dropping it on Hiroshima and just the after effect of like the hydrogen bomb and like having nukes and like like the Cold War and all of that, having all of that and like seeing it and having the good actors like Cillian Murphy, like Florence Pugh, fucking Emily Blunt, and Robert Downey Jr. towards the end was so amazing. I was like, this is a good movie. Like, this is a really good movie.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, it was really good.
It kind of scares me how much power we have or even developed as humans.
Yeah.
From a simple spear stabbed to the heart to a fucking... like literal like a hydrogen bomb just
like, and when they were carrying that thing into it, I was like, it's so fucking small and it kills hundreds of thousands of people. Like that's insane.
Well, my teacher back in high school said like a hydrogen bomb can literally wipe South Korea off the map if they wanted to.
Immediately. So, like that's insane. To know, like, it's trying to give you like that point of view of his like that mental turbulence of being like, holy shit, I just created the worst fucking like weapon in the history of humankind. Like
you can't even grasp how he feels about that.
You can't. Like you can't. How could he even grasp that?
Yeah,
like how can you walk away at the end of the day, go to bed at the end of the night, and say like, yeah, Like that's
No,
something
yeah.
I did that came out of my head.
Like science in general, like at the end of the day, science is scary because
Really
you don't
scary.
know what you can create. You can create
No.
something that you think would be beneficial to humanity to something that could like end the human race entirely.
Yeah, and it's like right under your nose. Don't even know it. That's it. Yeah, but I
Like
sat there at the end and I was like, fuck, like how could somebody do like just any of that? Like just
the way they portrayed it too, like just their emotions, the
yeah.
feeling.
Of like that of anxiety and like him having those panic attacks of like, holy fuck, like what am I going to do? Like oh, I would have been spiraling. I would have been like, no, don't use it. I was just kidding. Like, I was just kidding, guys. Like, it's not real. Like, it's not real. You can't make a
You can't
bomb.
do anything with it.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. Throw it out the window.
Yeah,
Rips
like
the pages.
burns them all. You're just like, no. But no, Oppenheimer was a good movie. It was, I think, one of the like best movies I've seen in a while. Besides, like,
no, and I think they took their time to actually make that one.
I appreciate Christopher Nolan as a director because he, like, you can tell he's very serious. Like, even the actors in like their interviews and stuff have been saying, you know, he's like really diligent. He's very strict on.
He knows what he wants. He knows what message he wants to deliver, and I feel like most actors are missing that point.
Yeah,
they're like, I want to deliver my message, and then, but they don't have the passion to like, no, this is what I want people to take away from this movie. Mm-hmm. This is what they're gonna get.
Yeah.
And they do.
And I think that's a lot of the big, like, a lot of big actors are very, like, because, you know, they get so involved in those characters, and a lot of them just, like, try and turn into that character. And I think it's in terms of, like, being that, like, promoting a movie, you have to understand, like, the director has the vision of it all. Like, the director had the vision of these characters, of, like, the plot, of the settings, of like the theme, of the costumes, of the design, like everything in their head. Like it's this way for a certain reason. You have to deliver the story that way. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good movie.
I agree. I agree completely with that.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that, like, as soon as you said that, one of the things that popped into my mind was Star Wars.
Yeah.
And how Disney kind of just screwed the new trilogy up.
Yes, they did.
Like George Lucas himself had a story from 1 through 6.
Yeah.
And although people say like, oh, it's supposed to be watched 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, the way he said it was, no, it's supposed to be watched 1 to 6. Yeah. And like he had a story based out from the beginning, and he implemented that so we can all see it. And then I don't know what Disney did or what they were thinking, like with the new trilogy, but it just doesn't make any sense. Especially the last movie, The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know how that makes any sense.
I didn't know how that like connected to any of the previous movies in what way whatsoever. But like
somehow Palpatine has returned. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, but
I was like, but how? They didn't even describe how he came back. They just were like, oh, he's been alive, and it's like, how was he alive the whole time? Like
they never touched upon it.
Literally never touched up on it. Yeah, the new trilogies was definitely like. I think it's also certain directors try to have like that wow effect and that wow factor of like, oh, I'm bringing back this franchise, so it's going to be.
That's true.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we need better directors.
No, it's true, and I want to say it's one thing to actually make a movie when you're not trying to develop a franchise, like Christopher. Aside from the Batman trilogy or the Dark Knight trilogy,
right?
Like he actually makes it like an actual. Or like he has his own imagination, his own creation on screen, versus somebody who wants to continue like the Terminator franchise or the Rocky series, now Creed, like all these other things, but they don't have an actual plan or they don't want to have a direct message to their audience.
Yeah. It's also, and I think too, they're like feeling probably like, okay, it has to be even better than the first one, and it's like that's not necessarily true for every like if you're trying to build up like a world and like a story and through different like chronological like movies, you have to really like sit there and say like it's okay if this one isn't better than like the first or second one.
Agreed.
It still carries through the story, but like people don't look for that anymore. It's like. So much of Hollywood now is like wow effect and like wow factor and like I want to see a sexy enough lead character and it's like no, like no, that's not it.
want to say one of the greatest animation wise that did better, or that did, I want to say, split people, is like Shrek 1 and 2.
Yeah, Shrek 2 is better. Shrek 2 is one of the best movies.
Like, a lot of people said Shrek 1 was better, and then I had a lot of people say that Shrek 2 was better. And I'm just like, it's funny how people are divided by these two, because in one, like Shrek saves the princess falls in love, but at the end of the day, it's like, oh, it's about inner beauty and like inner feelings.
Right.
Versus Shrek 2, which is more of like, okay, I'm gonna adapt to your ways. This is what you want. This is what I'm gonna try to do for you. But at the end, you're like, that's not what she wants. She wants to be with you.
It's more realistic.
Yeah. And that's
like and that's the thing, is like people kind of, and that's just the romanticized effect of like, oh, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be better. And no, the reality of the situation is like, there are people at the end of the day who are like, okay, let me try and move into your like swamp, and let me try and like learn your ways of a ogre. Right. And it's like, you can't really like just go right into that. You can't just be like, okay, I'm an ogre and I can live in the swamp now. Like, no, it's more, it's Shrek 2 is a better movie. Let's be honest here. But Shrek the Third was also pretty good. I like that one.
So I don't remember that one as much. I know that,
I think that's when they have the kids, right?
I think they had the kids at the end of the movie. I think wasn't that the one where the dad died? They had it, and Shrek had to find like a new heir. I think King Arthur.
King Arthur. That was about King Arthur and the Round Table and stuff. Yeah.
And then the fourth one, I barely remember.
There's a fourth one.
Shrek. It's Shrek: The Final Chapter, which is the one where he. I think
that's right. She forgets who he is. That's right.
Yeah. I only watched that one once, but I barely remember it.
That one has Rumpelstiltskin.
Rumpelstiltskin, and so that one, somebody told me that the only reason they love that one the best is because they are a father, and they do remember the times when they were just like single and alone, and it was nice. But at the end of the day, they would miss their family.
I think I kind of like vaguely remember that one of like the witches on brooms and shit like that. Kind of like she, and I remember Fiona was wearing like
some armor,
like armor or something like that. Yeah. No, but Dune 2 cinema is back. It's a good one. You have to go see it, Rodney.
Starting 2024. I'll probably watch it. I'll say this weekend or closer to this weekend.
But the director of the films, he's another good one. Dennis Villeneuve, I think, or Villeneuve. I don't even know how.
I don't know. I'm not going to try to pronounce it.
But he spells Dennis with one N. Dennis. So, but he's
great. Perfect.
He has other good movies too. But Dune, it's like the story building and the world building, it just like came up even more in the second movie, and it's just
more than the first one.
Yes, because I think the first one was more like they're giving you that like
the introduction,
yeah, of like, okay, here are the characters. This is vaguely kind of what they like this is where they lie, this is where they stand, like family status, like economical status, all that. But it's just like an intro. But this one was like world building, story building, like
it sets up everything. It
set it up so good. I was like, oh, this is good.
Because I don't know if they're gonna do a third one, but I do know that like I don't know if they like spaced it out, because I've only watched the first one literally not too long ago, yesterday.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? Because there's 3 books, and I don't know if they're gonna put in like into this being a trilogy, or did they just end it at the second one?
I think they're gonna try and make it a third one. The way they set it up was like
possible for the third one.
Yeah, because it's not really like a spoiler, but it's like right. It leaves off right where they like ended the first movie, like literally like as if it were minutes after. So I think they're gonna probably try and set it up like that in the third one, just because the way that they had left it off was kind of like that. But it gave you that sense of like it's one of those like good movies, dude, where you like go in and you're like, fuck, I want to see the next one. I walked out of the theater and I was like, shit.
It got
like,
that feeling back.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a good one.
No, I'll watch it. I'll probably watch it this weekend.
It was the first time like the movie theater was like silent. Like nobody was eating popcorn in between the movies.
They were just like seeing.
Like everybody was just looking at the film. They were just like, holy shit. Like, what? Yeah.
You don't get that nowadays.
You don't. That's why I'm like, wow, that was a good film. Like, holy shit. Maybe I'll read the books now. Like, goddamn.
I probably might too. I'm probably gonna what's it called? I want to wait for the third one, but I feel like because everybody's been talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
People from work have been talking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I might just go. What's it called? So I saw one last night, but I'm gonna just go see the second one, because the first one I liked. The first one was pretty good.
The first one
But
was good.
I'm hearing that the second one, especially from you and your reaction and everything, is just like it's amazing.
It is. It's even better. It's like those old movies. Like, God, I'm trying to remember what are like a good like movie, like old movie. I think it's like kind of like that. It has that like sense of, I don't even know, like what's a good like movie series like that people would go and you're like, fuck, I want to go see. Like,
movie
it's kind
series.
of like if you like, you know how when you went to go and see like the Marvel movies and like you would walk out and you're like, fuck, I want to see the next one. Like, I just want the Avengers to come out. Like that. It's like that feeling of like, I need the next movie to come out. Like,
so the only one I can think of
it's so good.
would be like the Harry Potter series.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a good comparison, because those are very like story world building in every single Harry Potter movie.
Yes. If you separate the movies and the books, I think it's fine. You can't really compare the two.
No, you can't compare the two.
Because
there's so many differences.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't compare. The books are so awesome. Like, they're amazing books. Like, J.K. Rowling, you're a terrible fucking person, but like, holy shit, you wrote those amazing. Like, you put all of your good soul into those books. But the movies, yeah. Like, so, okay, so like going to see, like, did you go and see like the Harry Potter movies, like the Deathly Hallow and stuff?
In theaters, the only one I saw in theaters, because we didn't have money, was the Deathly Hallows Part 2. That's the only one I saw in theaters. Everything else, I had to wait till it was on
like Redbox or some shit. Yeah, same.
So I'm like, and the fact that like people don't even use DVDs or anything anymore.
Scary. Like, side note.
Side note, I still have like the discs and like the VHS tapes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because if I ever want to watch a movie, I'll literally just put that in.
Instead of like going on a streaming site and not being able to find it. Like, the digital age is so scary. People don't understand. Like, continue buying CDs, continue buying DVDs. Like, we can't put that out of business. Like,
no,
we need that. We need that. Like, same with movies and like music and
movies. Yeah,
everything.
No, literally, no, everything. Because like a lot of books, people are doing audiobooks now.
Yeah.
And then a lot of what's it called? Music. People are just downloading or just basically paying for Spotify. And then they got movies, obviously, on streaming services and TV shows. All that. It's just an alternative way, and not like directly supporting something like music. You can just buy the actual CD. And well, I'm getting a little sidetracked because now I lost my point. What was it? What were we talking about? It was
like the Harry Potter and like that feeling of like going.
Oh, okay. So the only movie I saw was Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yes.
Right? In theaters, and when I saw that, it was just almost like beautiful.
Yeah.
After that's what made me want to read the books going forward. Is like after watching, I think, the 4th movie.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me start reading the books, and then that on itself is a whole separate experience. And the only other, like, I want to say, competitor back then was like the Hunger Games series.
Yeah.
So
I remember watching Catching Fire, the second one, and I was like, fuck, I have to read the books now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you want to know what happens. You know that the movie is going to take a while to come out if they make an eventual, like, third one for Dune. So, like, that's, like, the thing now online is, like, so many people are reading the books because they're like, I want to know what happens.
And that's what gets
the franchise, to, like, really get going and, like, it's, yeah. I walked out of that theater and I was like,
happy.
I have to like read the books. I have the first book. I think I read like half of it like a couple of years ago, and then I just never finished it. I'm really bad at reading books and like finishing them. Unless it's
long as you like
captivating.
I'd say so long as like you have them in your possession and you're trying to go through them.
Yeah.
Then you're good.
No, hundreds of books I have that I need to read, but It was really good. And again, it has that sense of like you want to go and like see it. Like you need to go and see the third one, and I really hope they come out with the third one. But like, there's only so many good directors nowadays that have movies like that.
That's true. We had like me and my cousin were watching the Percy Jackson series.
Oh yeah.
So
did you read the books?
Okay, so I read the first book. I think I can't remember if it was my freshman year of high school or I want to say the ending of middle school.
Okay.
Like around that era.
Okay.
Yes, I'm old.
No. It's just I think I was like just entering into middle school when I was starting to read the books. Yeah.
So around that time, and then I read, I think, I think the fifth book came out my senior year, like The Last Olympian, I think. But I read all 5 of the books, and when I was like, okay, they made a movie. Let me watch the movie. I lost all faith in directing and everything. I was just like,
listen, the actors. Logan Lerman played a really good Percy.
I don't want to blame the actors. I blame the directing.
I blame the directors.
I blame
the vision that they had. I blame the whole Hollywood spin of it all, because that's literally what made it so bad. Was they were like, let's spin this into like a Hollywood movie. Like, yeah.
I hated it. And then the second one came out. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, maybe it could be saved. See, I have hope for these things. And then every time I watch something, it just crumbles down.
Yeah. No, it's the Percy Jackson series. There was a few key differences from the actual books, but like the movies, the movies were definitely, I think it's just so much more of like the nostalgia aspect of it for me was like when they came out, because when I read the books, I honestly I don't even remember like a good majority of them now, because I read them when I was like 8, 9.
No, I feel that.
And so like looking at like the show and series, I'm like, oh, I can like kind of remember that.
Kind of like piece everything together.
Yeah, but the movies, I was like,
none of this happened.
None of this fucking happened. Like this isn't even in the fucking like books. But it's whatever.
No, see, with at least Harry Potter, because that was like their big contender.
Yeah.
They at least got, for the most part, most things accurate. But literally at a young age, and a lot of people keep telling me this, they're like, oh, read the books first and then the movie. Personally, I say in order to get into something, you have to visually see it or characterize it. So you can like have an idea of what's going in.
Yeah.
I say you can watch the movies. You can watch the movies, and then go and read the books, because personally the books are a lot better. But at least you can learn to separate everything and not nitpick everything. Like, oh, this didn't happen at this instance, or this like this is not the way this was portrayed. You know.
For years, I have been telling people watch the movies first and then read the books, because as a person who is like an advocate and like an avid person who reads and then like goes to see these movies that are then made of them,
kind of pisses you off.
It pisses you off. You're like, that's not at all what like, and especially if it's a good book series like the Harry Potter series, like the Divergent series.
Oh, I forgot about
the fucking series. Hunger Games. The Hunger Games series is a really good book series. Lots of life lessons in it, but it's like if it's a good book and you go to see the movie, you're going to be disappointed regardless, because it's not going to have like, you don't have that internal monologue of like in like the reading in the pages and like the lines of like you have every single thought, every single thing going on, and it's like you have so much more of like the view of what's going on in the book compared to the movie, because you don't have those little like
no. And the thing
cues.
Is sometimes the movies like either speeds things up due to time restraints,
right,
and you don't get that same emotional feeling,
right?
So they have to, like, I don't blame the directors entirely, but the movies weren't like terrible or anything, but they were different. And I would rather watch and see everything first from the director's point of view and then go and see the books, because I have a much more clear thought of what the actual basis was.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot more people, like I agree with you, need to do that.
Yeah.
Because other than that, you're just going to be like I said, that didn't happen. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Or
you're gonna nitpick everything, and you're gonna just be like, "This wasn't how I read it. It's not as good. Like, it's not
and it's
blah blah blah."
better when you read it because you're like, okay, so this is what.
Yeah,
you
get more of an understanding. You're like, okay, so that what was going through their head as this was happening. Like, it's so much better. It's so much better. But and also, not a lot of people read, so it's like,
see, that's the
tough.
thing. I don't mind people that don't read, but I also hate it when I debate people about some things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I debated a lot of people on the Harry Potter things, and they're like, "Oh, but they could have just used what was the time thing? I forget."
Oh, the time turner.
Yeah, they could have just used it to just go back in time and save Harry's parents and everything. And I'm like, that's not exactly how anything works.
Like, not to even get into time travel right now, but that's not how it works.
Wait,
that's funny.
No, let's get into time travel. How do you think time travel works?
100%. Listen, well, okay.
No. How do you think it works?
How?
Yeah. Is it more like the Harry Potter thing, where I guess everything was already kind of predetermined in a sense? Or do you think it's like kind of like Endgame, where like even if you go back in time, like you yourself,
you create another alternate version of
that timeline?
Yeah, I think it's like loose. I don't know. I mean, since they came out with like the documents of being like, yeah, multiverses are real, I was like, okay, so
branches off.
Yeah, they're like, there's multiple universes. I was like, oh, all right. Okay. So I think in terms of like time travel, I think it's like loosely kind of like how Marvel kind of portrayed it, but I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Like, I
feel like it is.
It's way too complicated for even us to understand. And in terms of like our human nature, we probably wouldn't be able to comprehend it.
Because there's the only reason I bring that up is because there's about 3 to 4 possibilities that at least we've determined what could happen. There could be a shit ton more.
Yeah.
But the first one is kind of, just like Endgame, where you are still your present, so your future is still happening. So if you go back in time, you are still experiencing a new future. You're just going back in time to that past.
Yeah.
Another thing that people have been saying is that, like, what if it's a time loop? Like, for example, the paradox effect. If you go back in time, you kill yourself, right? But then nobody would go back in time to like kill you.
Oh yeah, so like, it would just like create a paradox.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then there's the other one where, once again, a terrible movie, terrible CGI. Don't watch it. Have you seen The Flash?
No. With Ezra Miller, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never went to go see that one.
Don't see that movie.
I knew it was bad.
But they did have an interesting point with time. They basically, in short, if I can explain it correctly, they say like time moves on in like all realities in one single string. But if you cross a string like with another string, multiple timelines can occur at that same time. So it
interesting.
They explained it that way, which made sense. But there are too many possibilities,
There's too many
ideas, like, and they could all be true, and
we all don't know. That's kind of like deja vu. You get that? Like deja vu, where you're like, fuck, this already happened. There's like moments like that where it's like what if this is just, because I've seen people like that where they're like, because now that they said like there is a very huge real possibility of being multiple universes and different versions of ourselves, which is crazy in and of itself. Like, you're telling me there's multiple versions of me out there, and it's
like in all choices. They said one of the greatest things that I heard was like, any decision you think you would make, some other reality version of you
already made it.
Yeah, made that decision.
That's insane. Like, I want to live in one of those other realities, actually. Thank you very much, because I know I'm probably better off in one of them. Like, fuck.
All of your intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, holy shit. Like, there's just an evil version of me out there, like evil coral twin, and I'm just like, That should be a movie. Hello, that should be a movie. Somebody should write of like you traveling through the multiverses of like different versions of yourself, and
meeting
the evil version of yourself tries to kill all of you to like end your existence. To just be the one singular evil one. That's a good movie.
You already developed a huge plot.
Come on now, like
how will that take you? Like 2 minutes?
Yeah, I'm like shit. All right, let me go and contact Christopher Nolan right now. No, but that, it's like, I've seen people saying, like, deja vu is that, where it's, like, multiple versions of you at one exact moment is experiencing the exact same thing.
And that's like, why you have that, like, vision or I guess...
That feeling of, like, I already did this. Either that or our life is just, like, a continuous loop that we just continuously live over and over again, and that's actually really scary.
Literally, I was going to bring that up, because I think I was, like, 4 or 5 days ago, whatever, I heard that like the universe itself is like in an endless time like loop. Like at the edge of the universe, it kind of like rolls back in on itself, and then it just basically starts time all over again. So some people say that there's the illusion of free will, saying like we think we can do whatever we want, but really we might just be going back in an endless time loop. Yeah. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, we have that perception of like, oh, we're making this choice, but it's like, what if it's already a choice that we like made before, and it's not really free will at that point, because it's like something that we already did and we already know the consequences of, and it's...
Some people find that scary, but at the same time, I'm like, it's way beyond our control.
Yeah, it's a shitty situation, but at the end of the day, like when you die, you're not going to remember.
No,
like, and at the end of the day, we don't even know what happens to us when we die. Like, there are those people like who come out and are like, "This is what I saw," and it's like, okay, but like we all have different perceptions of things. Like, we don't know if that's going to happen to everybody. Like,
see, the thing is, at least personally, when it comes to an afterlife, one thing that Moon Knight did good, back to Marvel, is saying like there's a different ancestral plane. So like whenever you die, you experience this because you're part of this from your ancestors, or you're more into this culture. Yeah, right.
That makes sense.
So I kind of like that way of looking into the afterlife. Yeah. Or well, at least for me personally, I just think everything just goes dark and like you just basically face a face of non-existence. But if I'm wrong, then I got nothing to lose.
Existential dread that I just felt was like, fuck, I'm going to be staring into just a black space. You know, I hope that when we die, we do like
experience something.
Like, not even that. It's just because I like grew up in a religious like background. So it's like when you like, especially because like Catholics are like super hardcore.
Yes.
And, so when you're like growing up in that, you kind of have like this sense of like, I remember like asking my mom questions of, you know, saying, when I die, is God gonna, you know, like explain everything to me? And that's like the answer they give you is like, when you die, he'll give you all the answers like to the questions you have. Like, that's something that's gonna happen to you. And it's like, now that I'm not religious, I just hope that when I die, I get to like travel the universe. Like, I get to go and see it. Like, I want to see space, at least. Like, at least something. I can, like, see something, do something, like, experience at least something before.
No, I completely agree with that. Actually, I relate to that a lot because that's how I grew up, also Catholic. Yeah. And, like, going to, like, a Catholic school and then going to, like any religious kind of studies.
Did you do your, like, first communion?
First communion, yep.
You did your confirmation, too?
No.
I did. Unfortunately, my last step is to get married in a Catholic church. Yeah? Yeah, and then I'm holy in the eyes of God.
No, I haven't done... the only thing I've done is the first communion. Yeah. And, like, I guess we kind of fell off of, like, the religious cult, in a sense.
It is a cult. Let's be real, religion is a cult. Like, and it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's personally, that's just how it is.
The way I see it is you can believe whatever you want. Yeah. The only thing is, I just prefer nobody kind of
pushing it.
Yeah, pushing it down your throat.
It's like that sense of like, okay, if it's a religion that you so strongly believe in, you shouldn't have to shove it down everybody else's throat.
Agreed.
Like, if it's something you wholly believe is real, then believe it. Don't try and have other people believe it. It's like, if they're gonna, in your eyes, sin and like go to hell, then let them do that. That's their own free will. That's their life.
You can't basically try to save everyone.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and the biggest part that deconverted me is I always ask the question, how do we know that our religion is the correct one?
Yeah. Right.
So, like, for all I know, my ancient ancestors, like the Mayans, they could be the correct one.
Yeah.
Versus some other like Chinese or different religion that
like Buddhism or Hinduism, like
they could be the correct one. So I'm
right.
like, even if and one of the things with I think it's the most Christian God, which is Yahweh. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want anybody else to believe in a different God. Mm-hmm. And that's mostly troublesome because that's like about 90% of the world.
Literally 90% of the world.
So I'm like, at this point, might as well just give up faith and just live my life.
Yeah.
And then, like, my parents are still a little bit religious, but they're not. I want to say completely like separated from religion.
Yeah.
They'd go to church like once a year, once in Easter.
My mom. Well, my mom. So I grew up like super Catholic, and like my grandma, she like works at the church that she like lives near, so she's like fully integrated. But my mom, like more so recently, like now that she's getting older, she's definitely got a lot more into it. But it's like, you know, growing up and you're like surrounded by that, even if you have like a doubt against your religion, it's like, well, how could you not believe in him? Yeah, like he's real. Like, what do you mean you're atheist? Like, and then, you know, get yelled at and stuff. But it's, religion is like, there's just so many different, my dad explained it to me in like the way he sees it, of like, there's so many different religions and they all have one, you know, big person that they look towards, or like one big at least entity that at the top is like overseeing it all. And he's like, and that's how I see religion, is like there is one big thing, I think, is like, you know, looking over everything. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's, you know, like the Catholic or Christian God, or like, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean it's Yahweh, or it could be anything. And I was like, that could be true, but.
Well, I always also thought that, like, I'm not saying that the universe wasn't created, because I always think, like, what if it's just a science experiment on the other side?
Yeah.
And just like, okay, let's just see what these people do. And the reason we're so separated is because they wanted to see how each individual planet evolved.
Oh my God.
We don't know.
That could be a possibility.
And that's one thing.
That's so scary.
That's one thing that I don't think science should like ridicule completely.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever does. It just doesn't. The only thing that a lot of people, of why they hate science, is because like we're trying to get rid of God. But the only reason we're trying to get rid of God through science is because there's no evidence for one. And
right.
If they said like, well, that's because God is not of this world, he's outside of this world, so why would we detect it? I'm like, exactly. So there's no need to put God in our world, in our situation. If they're outside the bubble, let them be outside the bubble. Let them experiment to do whatever they want. Like, it could be one God, there could be multiple gods that we don't know anything of. But that's the way I see it. Like, if there is a creator, because I keep telling people, like, I'm not a full-blown atheist.
Yeah.
I'm more of like a skeptic. Like, if there is a God that created anything or something, they just are seeing what is going on within our worlds, within the universe that they created. Yeah,
I'm more of like an agnostic kind of, like, it could be real, it could not be real.
Yeah, it won't bother me regardless.
Yeah, it won't really, like, at the end of the day, if I choose to think like, okay, there is like a bigger, I mean, I guess in terms of like, I'm more of like a universal, like, there's something out there. Like, there's no way. Like, you're telling me just a bunch of fucking chemicals did all this shit. Like, you're telling me just a bunch of elements and atoms did
made this?
Yeah, no.
Flesh and blood.
Yeah, so, I mean, it did. Scientific evolution. Scientifically, it did. But, like, in terms of just
the preciseness,
the precision of just how the universe is being made, and, like, just the key elements of like black holes, of wormholes, of stars, of
there's so
comets.
Much we don't know.
There's so much, and it's like, you can't tell me that there's not one like thing that, not so much as like controls it, but I think it's just like in a good kind of nature of like, okay, there's something there, but it's not necessarily like an entity. It could just kind of be like Like the free will of just either everyone or just, like have the belief of everybody.
There was this might scare you a little bit, but there was this one thing that I heard from I forget who it was. It was on YouTube. This one guy was telling me, what if you, like the way you see yourself now, you are actually living somebody else's past life, and then you wake up a different day, as soon as like I die or you die, you wake up, you take off the goggles, it's only been 5 minutes, and you're like a 16-year-old person in your room, and you experienced an entire life in like 1 minute.
Damn. That version of me made the worst fucking decision, chose the wrong person's life to live.
You're like, and you get to
and I chose to be a redhead. No,
you get to experience everything from that person's birth till their death.
That's exactly insane. That moment. I think that is like,
that could be a possibility with the technology we have. I want to say in the future,
the way that we're going,
who knows what we will have? Like, who knows if, like, I think
like it's literally Matrix. We could literally be in the Matrix and not fucking know it.
And I feel like
the rain happening the other day of like it being on only one fucking side,
and then
it's clear, no rain, and then rain just right there. Like that was fucking weird.
It's a glitch.
A glitch in the system.
Here's one question that I actually want to ask too. If you had the ability to talk to every single person in the world, you can only say up to like, I want to say 100 words. But if you had the ability to talk to everybody in the world and they understood what you're saying, like in their own language or in their head, what would you say to them?
Jesus Christ. That's a big responsibility right there.
Right?
I mean, what do you even say in that?
So my brother asked me this question, and what he would say was just like, and if you hit this button, you can like talk to everybody and pretend like you're a god and everything. And they're like, oh wait, why are you on the button? And like, oh wait, they're gonna know they're in a simulation. Oh shit! And then
oh shit! Wait, hold on. Just fuck with everybody. Oh my god! Everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then the world just like ends, and it's just like nuclear explosions everywhere.
Like, nothing's real.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would probably fuck around just to see, just to end it a little bit early. Be like, all right, I want to know what happens when I die.
I was like, you could say so many things to everybody.
You could.
One of the things that I would say, I was like, should I be good or should I be bad? I'm like, I could say it to everybody, because this is what I told them I'd say. I'd be like, okay, so I am God, and I'm speaking to everybody's like, what's it called? I'm speaking to everybody right now. You guys got the book wrong.
Like, I am him, and I'm telling y'all are fucking idiots.
I was like, I'd be like, first of all, get over yourselves.
Yeah.
None of you guys are special. You're all special by working together and make humanity last.
Yeah.
Stop separating yourselves.
I know.
And come together and make civilization.
The human race.
Right?
How selfish. I mean, that's a good one, honestly.
Because like,
pretend.
I'm not saying that religion is like terrible, but from what I like from history, it does divide people and say like, no, my God is the correct one. No, my God is the correct, and that starts wars and other, like a lot of other stuff. But yeah, at least that's what I would do.
I honestly have zero clue. I don't know. That's probably like if it was on a Wednesday, I would just be like, it's Wednesday, my dudes, like from the Vine, and then just like. That's just it. Like that would be my silly goofy one. I'd be like, it is Wednesday, my dudes. And everyone's like, what the fuck? I'm like, what?
Everybody else hear that?
It's on a Saturday. They're like, it's fucking Wednesday? I just changed around the calendars and everything. The Mayan calendar comes back and it's like,
oh my god.
That was fucking funny.
That was a funny year. 2012.
2012 was so good. The one time I actually did think I was actually gonna like end with the rest of the world. Yeah, I don't know what I would say. I would probably just.
No, it's just a question. It's just some people.
It's like it's a good one to think about, because there's so many different messages you can get across that like. It's like one of those. It's like the butterfly effect moment of like whatever you say in that moment is going to change
everything.
Everything.
Like 1,000 different possibilities, like millions of possibilities, trillions of possibilities. And then the thing is, it's like, I feel like even if I said something good, somebody will find a way to twist it.
Yeah.
Because I think
always, of course, always, yeah.
that's how humans are built. They would build to just direct their own nature above somebody else's.
And of course, it's like everybody's opinion is matters and it's like important, but it goes to a certain point where it's like you can't go and say, well, mine is more important than everybody else's. So in human nature, yeah, everyone, it's like, do you follow like Formula One or like NASCAR and stuff like that?
Not in a while.
Yeah. Well, there's just like, it's kind of like that because there's like a huge like scandal going on right now in like the world of Formula One. And a lot of people are like trying to put their opinions on it. And they're just like, well, this is what I think matters. And like, but it's like in the bigger picture, you can't go around and be like, well, what I think matters more
than what you're.
Yeah, because then that just causes more issues. Like, of course, everything I say, everybody could take it the right way and they could agree with me or they could not.
Or they could twist it.
Yeah, and they can twist it and say, like, how the fuck could she say that? Like, that's so negative. And it's like, well, you saw it that way, but I didn't see it that way. And it's like power of, what is it called? I guess it's just like knowing and understanding that people are going to have different views than you.
Yeah, and that's one thing I feel like people need to understand is just like accept the opinion.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with
it. You don't have to agree with it. You could just be like, for sure, that's how you see it, and walk away. I think, and that's like a huge thing that you kind of understand the older you get, is like people aren't worth the time.
No, they're not. And it's all the way back to customer service when we kind of started this. It's like at the end of the day, if you're also just new to customer service, people are not worth the time.
People are not worth the time. It's not worth it to like, when I first started working at like, customer service and I was actually like helping people, I would like get like not passionate, but I would in a way, because it's like I want them.
You're proud of your work and you want to like give them like the proper experience.
Right.
And
like understanding and like seeing that a customer was like giving my coworkers a hard time, I was like, oh, let me at them. Like, let me. And it was like, but now it's just, like, especially being, like a leader and being like a supervisor and being in charge, you kind of just get so tired of it. And you just like, you change. Like, you literally sell your soul. Like, I told people, I was like, I sold my fucking soul when I became a supervisor. Like, it sucks, but you kind of just realize people aren't worth the time, and it's just not worth the energy. Like a lot of my older like friendships and stuff like that, it's like, now that I'm looking back on it, would I like go up and like rekindle? No, because it's not worth the time. Like, it's not worth my energy to like sit here and argue with somebody who has a different view than me. And it's like, well, you're going to keep that view. So
that's the thing. I feel like most people nowadays are so, I don't want to say entitled. Well, they are. They are. But I also want to say that they are stuck in that one view, that they don't bother trying to understand the other person's view.
Yeah.
Or trying to see, this is where this person's coming from.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, because like back then, if I had an opinion and my friend had a different opinion, we would still go out and just like, oh, let's just go get some ice cream together or something, from 7-Eleven or something. And we were kids.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, my view is the correct view and you're wrong.
Cancel culture has played a lot into that.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking gross. Sorry.
No, I feel like leave the time period where the time period is, and you can't just keep canceling every single thing
just because they don't agree with you.
Yeah, just because you don't agree with it.
That's the biggest thing, is that like
they wanted to cancel Speedy Gonzalez. He was the only Mexican representation I had.
Yeah, like for what reason? No, people in like, and I think that's the thing that a lot of like newer like generations don't understand so much, is like friendships and relationships aren't built off of just like things you have in common.
No.
Like a relationship is so much more complicated than like going and hanging out and being like, I like to play Mario Kart and they like to play Mario Kart with me too. And it's like, but there's so many different aspects. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have different points of views and opinions. And you shouldn't look at something and be like, oh, my friends don't like, like apple juice. Now I can't be friends with them. And it's like, okay, but you still can. Like, you don't.
I know. I'm like,
it's not that big of. It's not the end of the world if somebody has a different view than you. It's, you take that into account and say, okay, well, now I understand from a different perspective how they could see it, and it's not, you know, necessarily just one way like I see it. There's so many different possibilities. And taking that and being like, okay, understandable, like you have a different opinion. All right. Instead of being like, no, I don't like it. Like
See,
that's not right.
that's one thing that I do miss, because anytime I talk with some, like, especially because it's affecting the younger generation. Like,
Yes, a lot.
they're like all one-sided at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the older generation as well, they're all one-sided at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like us in the middle, we kind of get both sides, but we still let people be people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the fact that like, oh, you're wrong, we're done.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, you're wrong, explain to me. I don't agree, let's go get a sandwich. Let's go do something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like, we're still friends.
Like, yeah, I'm still going to be your friend at the end of the day. Like, I know you care about me as a person, and like you would do anything for me as like a friend, but we might not have the same views, but at the end of the day, you're my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you, I've had also friends that I had to just like disconnect because they can't change their minds, or they're already like solidified on one opinion.
Yeah.
And it used to be for politics, but now it's just like on everything.
Yeah.
So like, back to getting to cancel culture, it's just like, oh, this is racist, and I'm just like, oh, okay, but how though?
Yeah.
Or this is what's it called? This is offensive. It's like, okay, but how? Because at the same time, America is also built on everything.
Yes.
Like, it's literally piled up in here, thrown and mixed.
Yeah.
There's
a lot. There's a lot. And people, like, I don't know, it's at one end of the spectrum, it's like it could be so simple as to say, well, like that's just plain blatant, you know, like oppression or racism. And it's like there are certain instances where like, yeah, that is plain racism. That is plain like blunt oppression. You can see it. It's right in front of your eyes. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like people just kind of try and find so many little different things now, and it's like if you don't have a side where they think is the right side, the good side, the correct side, then you're wrong. Yeah. And it's like being in our generation, thankfully, is like we don't necessarily like go out and like see that and are like, hey, you know what, like this person is like in a different view than me, how dare they? It's like, okay, they have a different view than me. But like our parents are very much like, oh, you don't have the same view as me? Fuck you. And then the newer generation is like, oh, you don't have the same view as us? Oh my God, you're a fucking terrible human being. And it's like, whoa, like, guys, let's calm down a little bit here.
Right?
It's not that serious.
It's like with parents, I want to say they kind of also pressure their kids. And this is also going back to the topic where if you have kids, because like you said, no one's going to be a perfect parent. Yeah. But just be prepared for the consequences. Right. But they do share, or I guess like us, like parents give us a burden, whether they know it or not. Yeah. And they said like either live up to their expectations, or just make sure that like we raise you right, so you have our same viewpoints and stuff. They're, like, they don't give their child like a choice. No. It's kind of really annoying. Yeah.
I think that's, you know, a lot of parents and like people who want to have kids, like a good thing that you have to like really, I think, understand is that when you're like raising another human being, like they're not going to see everything the same way you do.
No, and that's fine.
Like, and that's okay. Like my parents kind of really don't like necessarily understand that because they grew up in a, you know, in their situation in their lifetime where it's like their parents were like, well, I'm your parent. I know what's better. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. And it's like, if I go against my parents, they're like, well, that's not respectful because I'm your dad, or like I'm your mom. And it's
especially
like,
especially when you bring up a good point.
Yes. And they're like, eh. Yeah, no, and it's like, oh, so I got you a little bit. Like, okay.
That small pride you feel.
Yeah. You're like, oh, like I gagged them. Like I got it. But that's that thing of being a parent, I think, understanding that you're going to have different views from your kid, and the world is constantly changing. Like society is constantly changing. Yeah, things are different all the time. Every single week, something is different. People are going to have different perspective, like on everything that happens. So especially with this newer generation, you know, so many things I think are just like, that's the thing. That's one of the big, huge negative consequences of like social media and like internet and technology and cell phones and the modern day is that like everybody can see everything happening, and while it's so good to get the perspective and like see everything going on around you, it can just be so detrimental to like your point of view of everything and the way that you
because
try to get your opinion across. It's terrible. It sucks.
well, because a lot of social media platforms are doing like the whole like for you, and like the way the algorithm works is like if you watch this, this is the kind of the content that like we see that you're gonna like.
Right.
The issue with that is that like if you see something that like for example any political views, they're gonna push you towards that views and like viewpoints.
Yeah.
And the hard part is like especially when you're young and you're trying to understand the system.
Yeah.
You only fall for that one viewpoint.
Yeah.
You don't like look to the other side and say like, okay, these are their points. Let's see what I can do and what side I can pick. Because a lot of people like when they vote, they only like at this point they only vote for their party. They don't think of the other person.
They don't think of the other person. They don't think of like the whole effect of everyone. And that's another thing is like voting. Oh my god, my parents are like, you have to vote Democrat and you have to like no. Like you have to vote for the candidate that you know will make the country
better.
Like that will actually get policies in place that will actually help people with poverty and fucking the high inflation and fucking literally the wage and not having the cost and of like going to the fucking grocery store or like just basic human rights of women and like everything. And
it's really difficult because although, and this is one thing that I really hate, is like you might not be to the full side of that other person.
Yeah.
But it's your best decision. Like for example, like the first time I voted, some were Democrat, some were Republican, and then I had some like because I did it with friends. It's the worst thing you can do.
Never
don't do that.
I feel like there's certain situations where it's like it's like friend activity, but then there's like serious moments where you're like, okay, I actually have to do this based off my own opinion. Like I can't let anyone influence me.
It was like our first time voting, right? And we're like, okay, what can we do? Like to make like our city or not just our city, but like the whole country better. And because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do.
Right.
And then like, yes, you can have like discussions and everything, but I had a friend that's just like, I'm just going to vote all Republican. And I'm just like so confused. And then that's where the whole debate started. Just like, you're supposed to vote all Democrat because California's like going into that state.
Yeah, California's like, blue. Yeah.
What the fuck are you guys talking
about? That's not what it is.
And then I was like, okay, I'm like, cause I literally had to back out. I was like, I'm just going to do this on my own. Yeah. And that's what you should do, honestly. Because if you're trying, like, you have to go deep into research the more you want to see who is the better candidate for you, or for what you think.
Yeah.
But you can't just bluntly go along and like have your friends convince you, like, no, this is wrong because of this reason, but they don't back up with why the other reason is or why their reason is correct.
That's another thing is that a lot of people nowadays kind of look at like voting as something that isn't going to change anything, or like going out to vote or like just the basic simple research of the candidates does not happen anymore. Like nobody really goes to like look up like, okay, what is his name? One of the Kennedys is running for president.
What's his name?
And nobody's going around and being like, because there's people online who are just like, oh, he's a Kennedy and John F. Kennedy was a good president, so I'll just vote for Kennedy. And it's like, did you actually research what he wants to do, what he wants to try and implement, what his background was, like what he was involved in before? Like, you have to really take the time. If you want to see like a change happen, you have to implement it. You have to implement it. You want to have to be involved. You want to have to go and say, well, I don't really know this person that much, but I know let's see what we can do. Let's see what policies they want to like enact or things that they want to place or, just the basic simple vision that they have for the country.
No, I agree with that.
But a lot of people just don't vote anymore because they just think it doesn't matter. And I'm like, it does
No,
matter.
it
Like,
always matters.
it always matters.
I feel like I will say this. I do respect a person's decision not to vote if they're not interested or they don't care. I respect that.
Yeah, because it is your decision at the end. It's your free.
Yeah,
that's your
it's
vote.
your choice.
It's your choice. Yeah, it's your freedom.
But I will say, if you do choose to vote, do just. No, I don't want to say the minimum research because that could also lead to a bad thing. But at least do something.
Yeah.
To actually know why you're voting or who you're voting for.
Yeah, get like a simple like idea.
Yeah.
At least of just like everything that's going on, just so that way you can say like, okay, I kind of have a vague understanding, a vague idea. Now I can go and like try and make my own opinion based off of it, which is what voting is. But
yeah, and I feel like you said, social media is like influencing a lot of different like aspects in kids and everything. And
yeah.
Also, they're trying so hard to push their political parties to the one side, but they're not letting people decide for themselves.
No.
They're only implementing why their side is good, why the other side is bad, but not like, okay, but is this better for me or is this better for like the country? Because sometimes, although it might be better for the country, you might suffer along with that.
Right.
And then sometimes, like, if it's better for you, it's okay if the country suffers a little bit. Like, it's all a decision based thing, and it's like nobody's gonna get like a perfect like everything they want. We're not gonna have a perfect society.
Yeah.
We just have to deal with that.
We just have to. Yeah, because not everybody's gonna want the same thing. Not everybody's gonna see things the same way. But it's just like that understanding of like that harmony of like being able to live with each other and saying like at the end of the day, like coming back to just being more accepting. I think that's the thing is people aren't accepting. They're not accepting of opinions of others, of
they shame
different
people.
points of views. They shame people. They shit on people, you know, and it's like, that's literally what human nature and humankind is. Like, we all have different perspectives. We all live different lives. We all face different issues and problems in every day. And it's very like ignorant to sit there and say like, oh, you have to see the way I see things. And it's like, fuck off.
I'm tired of that.
Shut the fuck up. Has anybody ever told you, shut the fuck up?
The last thing I want to touch on is that same aspect, but on the business aspect.
Yeah.
Like when they tell you business wise, what's it called? I like when you're working for somebody, they tell you, okay, you have to do this, this, and this because that's beneficial for the business. I understand that, but then they have to say, because sometimes it's beneficial for the business, but other times they're trying to just protect themselves. Like, it's better for me, but I'm gonna still tell you it's for the business.
Yeah.
And I think that whole, what's it called? A lot of people are saying like capitalism is the way for the country. The thing is, any kind of like social constructed thing that we do, it can work, but it's mostly under specific terms.
Yeah.
And as people, we're always trying to develop and evolve, and we also see flaws.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that are like in the working class, they are starting to see the consequences of one, just being in a capitalist state. Like, yes, you're trying to run your own business. At the same time, employees, especially in California, they just want to make a decent paycheck, a livable wage.
I literally just want to make a livable wage so that I can go home and just do whatever the fuck I want, and just not have to worry about like the stress of not having enough money to pay rent or getting my groceries.
No, I 100%, because like nowadays people our age can't afford a house.
Yeah. Should have bought a house when I was 9 years old.
Right? And they're like, oh, but if you do this and with time, and I'm like, no. I spent all this time, like, you go to college, you graduate, you did everything you're supposed to do, everything they tell you to do, and next thing you know, you're still like, okay, but I now I have to start from the bottom. And most companies nowadays, because minimum wage went up so high in the state, they basically pay the same amount as like a Target worker or fast food employee and stuff, so you're just kind of stuck there. Yeah. But then they also have, I guess, like competition. It's nice to have competition, but if you only focus on making more money and not on like taking care of your employees, that's what's gonna kill the company. Yeah. That's what's gonna kill, I want to say, the trust in people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people like are trying to do, or like our generation is trying to do. Like we're trying to go in, like when we first started, trying to go in, trying to make a great impression. But then the more you're treated in a shitty way, especially by customers and the company not having your back, like they saying, "Oh, just do what they tell you."
Yeah.
Customer's right.
Yeah, customer's always right.
That's what breaks you. That's when you're like, okay, I have nothing.
No
Nothing
faith. Yeah.
going for me.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, fuck capitalists and fuck capitalism.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It benefits one person. And that's fucking it. And it literally is like, oh well, I'm okay, but I don't give a fuck about how the rest of you are. It's kind of the way, like, and how you run a country, and and this country is run off of capitalism. Like big people, big corporations, fucking big pharma runs half of this fucking country, half of the world, if I'm being real.
Yes.
Like, and
like a little bigger than that.
Yeah, it's fucking. It's just it's the way that, like, so many people are so blinded by, like, oh, but it's for the good of company and it's for the good of, like, the work and that's why I have such a huge, I think, deal with, like, managers and, like, management and, like, following those rules, is because it's like, well, no, if those rules don't benefit everybody, then I'm not going to do it.
No, and
that's how it should be. Like
you're supposed to benefit your employees to a livable amount, because a lot of times people, or especially during the pandemic, where it, like, opened everybody's eyes on how little they're actually making. What's it called? Bigger corporations, bigger companies destroy anything that's little. And I feel like if we had a capitalist country with just little companies and kind of stop the corporate greed, that's the only way it can work. But even then, that's, I want to say, like a delusion, because nobody's like people are people. They want to destroy their competition.
Yeah.
And even like during the pandemic, we had a lot of I don't know about you, but I had a lot of doctors or people from the hospital saying that they're tired of people's stupidity.
Yeah.
Like they would try to go out, they would blame them for their family members dying for not, like, curing. Like, you're a doctor, like, why aren't you doing your job?
That's and like a little side note, because I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a surgeon. It's like, I feel so bad for medical staff, because one, they get overworked and underpaid so fucking much in this country. It's insane. And the amount of appreciation showed towards them is not enough.
No.
They are literally sitting there, like, to for some people with their final moments, like, almost daily sometimes. And it's like, during the pandemic, especially, like, the amount of fucking idiocy of people of going out and saying, oh, I'm not going to get sick. And then they got sick and then they died. And then it's like, well, we told you. And everyone's like, fuck you for not trying hard enough. And it's like, I don't see you coming over here and, like, holding down CPR for 30 fucking minutes while I'm trying to bring back your, like, sister. Like, it's more complicated than that. It's not. And, the pandemic just.
It opened
everybody's eyes.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one, like, good pro of the pandemic was, like, people kind of realizing, like, okay, the way that we are running this country and the way that people have been doing things so blatantly in front of our eyes and we haven't realized it, like, it has to change. And I'm hoping it does. But
well, I'm hoping that we personally get rid of this two-party system.
I got in a huge debate with it, but with my parents, because I was like, well, maybe we shouldn't just be solely Democrat and solely Republican. I think we should just go in and vote for anybody we think is going to make a better decision. Agreed. And my mom was like, yeah, it's normally historically the Democrats. And I was like, I can't fucking do this right now. Like,
no, they haven't made the best decisions. Like, neither party has made the best decisions. Yeah. I will say they have some good things, and then that's when they tackle themselves. They're like, they did this and that was amazing.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I'm going to hold this for years over everything else because it was the one good thing they did.
And then like they forget, like, what has happened in the past, because I hate when they only use that one thing to their best judgment of being president or being what's it called, in Congress or something.
Yeah.
But people don't like people are only blinded by having that one-sided party, or I guess one-sided party, and not looking to see what is actually beneficial towards the rest of the country, or even you.
Right.
And I'm like, just that's one thing that I hope within our lifetime that we just break.
Yeah.
Because I want to see a point where, like, what would people do at that point? Yeah. Like they can't really choose the Democratic side. They can't really choose the Republican side.
Yeah.
I feel at that point.
At that point, Civil War, baby.
Yep. Civil War.
It's time to overthrow the government. Like I'm being a little bit. I was telling. I think I was telling somebody this the other day too. It was like one of my friends. They were like, I don't know who the fuck to vote for, and like the presidential election coming up. They're like, everybody fucking sucks. And I was like, I guess it's time for a civil war. And they're like, actually, and I was like, we could overthrow the government, guys.
What's it called? They had the revolution.
Yeah, the revolution. The American Revolution. It's fucking coming. We should do it.
No,
it's we can't keep like.
We just want to live. That's all we want. That's like.
And it's.
I don't want to be a millionaire. I don't want to like have.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be super rich. Honestly.
Like, I mean, do I want to have money? Yeah, yes, but I don't need to have that. Like,
no, I still want to earn my money. I still want to work. I'm not gonna just sit here and just like, oh, give me free money and stuff.
Yeah.
Like personally, I can live in this trailer perfectly fine, until I actually have to like develop and like have a family and stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, alone, like comfortably, I can sit here. And it was tough getting up this trailer. I'm not gonna say that it was easy, but it's easier than getting a house.
Yeah.
And still, like I still want to have enough money to at least have food, rent, and just take care of one or two people maybe.
Yeah.
But if everybody's working, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of like, I guess the older generation saying, I did it when I was younger.
Yeah.
But times are different.
Yeah, that's just how life is. That's just life. It's like, no, you don't get it. That's a huge thing, is that like it's one of the funniest flaws of like the US, and then also just like human nature, is like we have all of this history. We have it at our fingertips. We can see like the effects and like everything, and the decision-making processes and everything that conspired afterwards of like some of the biggest decisions made in history.
Yeah.
And we like still follow that blueprint of like making those mistakes, and we're like, oh, that's just the way life is. And it's like,
we don't like, it's like
no,
we give up.
Like
we have the chance.
Rules aren't just like, they can be changed. They can be manipulated. That's why we have like,
yes, tradition
literally
doesn't have to stay traditional.
Yes, it doesn't have to be like, just because that was, and I think that's what the huge like thing is for like just America and the United States, is like, we are so stuck on this, like, we are a great country because we did this, and like, this is what we're built off of. And it's like, okay, great, but things are changing. The world isn't the same anymore. The environment isn't the same anymore.
We can change as well.
We can change it. Like, we need to change. But
no, the thing is, a lot of people just don't like change, mostly because like, they don't want to be wrong either.
Yeah. They don't want to lose that confidence of like knowing what is right, and knowing like in that moment of like having that confidence of like, okay, I know that this is how it's done. And then having that change and being like overthrown, and just being kind of like blindsided of like, I don't know how to do this now. And it's like, I don't know anything about that, but that's just, it has to happen. We need to do a civil war. Let's have a revolution. We need to fight like the French.
No, I actually agree with you there.
The French are really good at fucking throwing like revolutions and uprisings. Like, hands down, we need to learn a few things from our comrades overseas.
No, yeah, like, oh, well, they've been our allies for like the longest time too.
Yeah, they kind of copied our flag. No, okay. But like they're because they. Like, yes, Parisians, I heard, are like fucking assholes, but like at least they see the good of like everybody.
The thing is, you can be an asshole, but you could still, one, live up to your truths, but two, still care about people.
Yeah, live your truth, but like, fuck the government, let's overthrow them. But it's, no, we need to do it. I feel like.
No, I feel like our generation, or at least, well, I don't even want to say the next generation, but
the next generation's fucking trash. Let's just wait until the next one comes out. Like, they were molded by like the millennials and kind of like whoever is, I don't know, like some of the people that I see now that are like parents. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that explains why kids are the way they are. Like, okay.
No, but I think we'll end it there. I think it's already been an hour or so.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a great having you.
I had fun.
Honestly, a lot of good topics right there.
Yeah, I can yap for like hours at a time. Oh shit.
No, you're good. You're good.
I can yap forever. I'm a yapper.
But we'll end it there, and just think about everything that we said.
Yeah. Just think about, I guess, what to like overview it all. Interstellar was an amazing movie. Go see Dune 2.
Go see Dune 2.
Watch the Harry Potter series.
You know, kids don't know what the Harry Potter series is anymore, and
You're
I'm
lying.
just like disappointed. And I'm like, time to take you somewhere.
Let me show you the Harry Potter room. Let me come with me. Come along. Damn.
But, no, yeah. Well, they're gonna watch it regardless. It was my little cousin. I was like, you don't know this? We're gonna.
That's kind of scary. It's the same thing with like One Direction. People don't know who like One Direction was, and I was like,
if they were like a good 10-year span, and it's a good 10 years worth.
That's a good 10-year worth band that like literally almost outgrew the Beatles. Like, let's be real here.
But yeah. We'll end it there, and you guys be good humans.
Be nice. Be kindful.